is Brandon Lee. Today we'll be going over POP3 and SMTPs. We're going to be looking at them on a technical level and how we can harden them. This is ISA4220, fall of 2018. So the POP3 service enables a server to host email accounts and includes tools to administer the server's domains and mailboxes. The POP3 service performs a task of message download and request handling on a window-based server, where message download consists of transmitting the messages from a folder in a file system to clients, and request handling is performed according to the POP3 protocol, which defines how the server responds to the request sent from an email client. The SMTP service receives email from the internet, saves the email to the queue folder, and notifies the SMTP delivery service for POP3 of the arrival of email. The delivery service then moves the email to the POP3 mail store, where it is available for download to a POP3 email client. The ideal environment for the POP3 service consists of the following. Windows Server 2003 is installed and is functioning properly. The server hardware is sized appropriately for the number of users and disk space requirements. A suitable authentication configuration for the installation is implemented using Active Directory, integrated, local Windows account, or encrypted password file authentication. The volume that holds the mail store is formatted with the NTFS file system. Quotas are enabled on the volume that will host the mailboxes. The internet domain name is registered with a naming authority. The SMTP service is configured as a mail exchange host with the internet service provider, and the mail exchanger records have propagated through the domain name system. Next, we have the POP3 protocols. The POP3 protocol defines not only the commands and responses between a POP3 client and server, but also the state of the session. The state of the session defines whether a POP3 command is valid in that context. The protocol defines commands for authentication, message retrieval, and message management in a series of 3 states: authorization, transaction, and update. The authorization state is the state of the session once a connection has been established. The connection between the client and the server uses the TCP three-way handshake to establish a network connection. The transaction state is the second state of the POP3 session. The commands valid in the transaction state provide information about the email messages, return the context of the message, and mark the messages for deletion. Next, we have update. The update state is the last state of a POP3 session. The receipt of the quit command signals the server to delete any messages marked for deletion. The quit command can also be used in the authorization state to end a session before it enters the transaction state. In this situation, the connection to the server is terminated. Here listed are the best practices that I recommend to harden POP3. Listen on the protocol port with mandatory STARTTLS, port 110 being for POP3. Optionally listen on implicit TLS ports, port 995 for POP3s. Enforce authentication even for local networks. Make sure that authentication is not allowed on unencrypted connections. Use the recommended cipher suits if all connecting MUAs support them. And turn off SSLv2s. Next we have SMTP. SMTP, or the Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, carries the electronic mail of the world. SMTP is a TCP/IP protocol used in sending and receiving email. However, it is limited in its ability to queue messages at the receiving end. It is usually used with one of the 2 other protocols, POP3 or IMAP, that let the users save messages in a server mailbox and download them periodically from the server. On Unix-based systems, SendMail is the most widely used SMTP server for email. A commercial package, SendMail, includes a POP3 server. Microsoft Exchange includes an SMTP server and can also be set up to POP3 support. SMTP usually is implemented to operate over Internet Port 25. SMTP protocol. SMTP is a connection-oriented, text-based protocol in which a mail sender communicates with the mail receiver by issuing command strings and supplying necessary data over a reliable ordered data stream channel, which is typically TCP, which is over a TCP connection. An SMTP session consists of commands originated by an SMTP client and corresponding responses from the SMTP server, so that the session is opened and session parameters are exchanged. A session may include 0 or more SMTP transactions. An SMTP transaction consists of 3 command and reply sequences. They're mail, RCPT, and data. The mail command, which is to establish the return address, also called return path, reverse path, bounce address, M from, or envelope sender. The RCPT command is to establish a recipient of the message. This command can be issued multiple times, one for each recipient. These addresses are also part of the envelope. Data is to signal the beginning of the message text. The content of the message as opposed to its envelope. It consists of a message header and a message body separated by an empty line. Data is actually a group of commands, and the server replies twice. Once to the data command itself to acknowledge that it is ready to receive the text, and the second time after the end of data sequence to either accept or reject the entire message. Here I have some recommendations and best practices used for SMTP. First, make sure that you change administrative usernames and only use complex passwords. Change all passwords according to a set schedule. Once every 3 months is a good ideal time to start changing. SMTP servers are often subject to denial of service attacks, and in your SMTP settings, limit your total number of connections, total number of simultaneous connections, and your maximum connection rate as much as you can while still maintaining the functionality that your organization requires. That may require some fine tweaking over time, a bit of trial and error, but every SMTP server needs are different. Have some test emails sent through your SMTP applications and commence full operation only when that's successful. But testing for incidents like DOS attacks will probably require the work of a penetration tester. If you can have a red team work on your SMTP server before you launch, it would be a good idea. There are SSL options for SMTP as standard TCP IP ports. They should always be chosen instead of plain text email ports, no matter how unimportant you may think your data is. Mostly all modern email clients and server applications support SSL. You can eliminate plain text email sending and receiving easily. So make sure to secure your SMTP port with use by with port 465. And here are my references. Thanks for watching this presentation.